Fred Jones is in the studio. Fred Jones Jr., the founder of the Southern Heritage Classic. He was kind enough to make time for us today. So, Mr. Jones, thank you so much for joining us, man.
My pleasure. Always my pleasure.
Always. This is like his 5th or 6th time being on with us. We love when he comes on. We had big classic news, news from the Southern Heritage Classic last week when it was announced Arkansas Pine Bluff and Alcorn State will be the 2 classic participants September 27th here at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. Mr. Jones, what all went into the making of the matchup?
Well, we don't have that much time. I think that it was a situation where we were able to, let's really get it done. I mean, it was really, we were at a tipping point where we didn't know what was going to happen. And I was glad we was able to work this out with UAPB and Alcorn State, and we were able to move the game from Pine Bluff to Memphis. Mm-hmm. And everybody's really excited about that. And, this being a part of the Classic is a big deal. It's the 3rd year for UAPB and the 1st year for Alcorn. So I'm just glad we were able to get it done. But I'm glad we were able to get it done for the citizens of Memphis. I mean, they were just on pins and needles about if, in fact, what was going to happen, and I was too. But it worked out, and I'm glad for that.
Well, Mr. Jones, what we do know is that, when it's clutch time, you produce, right? You got some MJ qualities about you. When the ball is in your hands and it looks like the shot clock's winding down and the adversity's there, you found a way again to, with the help of your wonderful staff and 2 schools, to deliver another opportunity for Memphis to embrace and enjoy what's been a long-standing tradition of, now we're approaching 40 years, right, of the Southern Heritage Classic. We were talking as you were getting set up for the show here, is that if you had to pick 2 schools regionally that have prideful fan bases, they know what they're doing, in the tailgate, they know what they're doing with the parades and all of those kind of things, and it wasn't going to be Jackson State, Tennessee State, or whoever. Alcorn State and UAPB fit the bill. How exciting are you about that matchup and dealing with those 2 schools to have their brand come to Memphis as well?
I'm very excited. I mean, it got tremendous tradition.
Yeah.
You say Alcorn State, you think about Steve McNair. UAPB is when it was A&M. I remember for myself personally when I went to a basketball game when I was in the 10th grade over there, and so they have a lot of history here, and a lot more than people imagine. Because we were with 2 schools for such a long time. But this is because of the way where Memphis is located. All of these schools are around Memphis. Right. Whether you go south or you go north or go back east, it's still right in the center. And there are a lot of people from HBCUs that are in Memphis, and it struck a chord. I didn't know until this morning that the guy next door to me in my office is an Alcorn graduate.
Okay.
So you hear all kinds of stories now, which is a good thing. And I think that, again, and when I told people a couple of years ago about UAPB, you're going to be pleasantly surprised of the support that's out there in this community.
This is the first time that the Southern Heritage Classic has also been a conference game, right? Okay, so what does a conference matchup do to elevate the importance of the Classic this year?
Well, I think it works both ways. It's a conference game. The conference games are always important, but you're taking it and elevating it to a brand called the Southern Heritage Classic that everybody knows about, and they always. I warn them every year, you're going to get a lot of calls when this is finally announced. It was only announced last Friday around 1:15. For them, it's been nonstop. I mean, everything is really just taken off. In fact, the 2 alumni chapters had a meeting last night. So things are working, but I think they really to having a conference game that has a little bit more meaning for them in their conference, in the SWAC conference, but it's also giving it a heightened elevation, an appreciation, awareness because it's a part of the Southern Heritage Classic.
Oh yeah. These two, the SWAC and the Southern Heritage Classic, those brands are coming together again, and I think it's a good thing. I think it's a smart thing for this to have a conference tie into it as well, because when you look at some of the other longer tradition classics, the Bayou Classic is a conference game. The Florida Classic is a conference game. Right. The Magic City Classic is a conference game in Alabama, and I think it just adds another layer of weight and significance. And hey, I can't miss this because I'm going someplace special in Memphis, but it's also a game that we can't mess around with this game on the schedule. So again, sometimes you got to take a winding road to get to a destination that's best for all sides, and I'm happy that it's settled where it is right here. And when you look at Mr. Jones, when you look at sort of the evolution and the next steps for the last 4 or 5 years, you've always had to look forward, and where is this classic going from here? Are you happy with sort of the I don't want to say inconsistency, but just the fluidity of what this business has become now, as opposed to the staunch, you knew for 10 years who you wanted and who was going to be in it. Now it's almost like every 2 years you got to reset a little bit.
It's like when you watch a game and you watching the coaches and they looking at their plans and they laid out the plan what they're going to do and what have you. Somewhere along on that plan, and that they got to pivot to something else. I mean, we thought it was going to be over to the right, but it's over to the left.
Yeah.
So now we know that we got changes. We got a change of date. We got a change of schools, and the most consistent thing is with this is the fact that we're still here in Memphis, and that is the really good thing. And I think that now that we know that these changes are going to be a part of our future, then we either have to adjust to them. It's all about adjusting. It's all about pivoting to the next thing, and we got so many really good things about Memphis that Memphis, the city, is consistent. The things around it changes. It's like say, okay, we got 2 teams different in the Classic. The parade is going to go down Orange Mound. Penny's going to do the golf tournament. The fashion show that's been a part of it more than 30 years. College fair where we're getting ready, businesses and expose the young people to what it's like to go to college and get prepared for business. All of those things are in place. So, and we still, and this is the one I talk about all the time, I don't eat barbecue anywhere else in the world other than Memphis. I don't care, man. This guy got the best barbecue. So I don't want to disrespect you. I don't want to deflate you. Thank you very much. Yeah. I'm getting back to the rendezvous in Cozy Corner.
There it is. Just we're excited about this classic. First time Alcorn State is going to be here. The 3rd time, right? Arkansas Pine Bluff is here. I do want to talk some about the teams that had traditionally been in the Classic. Just what ended up happening with Tennessee State. How much of that was Tennessee State is in a tough spot financially right now, with the state coming in and looking hard at their budget, and Jackson State, and just they're not in the same situation as Tennessee State, but the decision Coach Prime made not many years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, and Jackson State still upholding that when we look at those 2 teams, what went into Tennessee State's decision to what did they tell you as it pertained to not participating in this year's Classic, and could you foresee a chance later on after this contract is up with Pine Bluff and Alcorn State, they come back?
Well, let me just say this first. Let me make this very clear to everybody. I do not have an axe to grind with Jackson State University and Tennessee State University. Not one bit, Could things been handled a little differently? Yes, okay. But again, sometimes you can't choose how things happen. Is how you deal with it. But we created something that when they talk about money, 35 years ago, I mean, the home team was taking all the responsibility, and the visiting team was getting $20,000. They played in Memphis, they got 50. Well, we parlayed that all the way through that the teams have earned more than $15,000. So to answer your question, the door is always open here. That's the change that's going to be happening in the future. It won't be where one team will settle in or one school will settle in for 15 or 20 years. That probably won't happen. That's just the way things. It's like college sports, how that has evolved into something that we do not really recognize. That's the way it is. But here again, we have a good relationship. We would like to have had it changed. The change would have been a little bit differently. But I don't have any animosity or whatever. Right now, my main concern is UAPB, Alcorn State for this year, for us to have the best classic that we ever had. That's my goal. That's my staff's goal, and that's what I want the people of Memphis, to rally around. Rally around this classic like never before. I mean, it's kind of, again, it reminds me of when we were doing the Grizzlies and before the FedEx Forum and then the FedEx Forum, where the community had to rally around it for us to get to where we are right now. And without the community, it doesn't work. So let me just repeat this. There's no animosity. There's no bad blood. The changes were made. Those things are made, and that part of it is done. Now we move forward with what we're going to do in 2025.
You said how much money were the schools bringing in? Jackson State and Tennessee
State? Collectively, every school that has participated in the 35 years of the Classic collectively earned more than $15 million collectively. And if you looked at, they had a listing of what schools were being paid in 23 and 24. We were right there. But we've been there before this ever got to that point. So again, sometimes you have to be careful when you're talking about money. It's, about, trying to compare, it's like trying to compare the Big Ten and the SEC with everybody else. It's not a fair fight. It's just not, But we've been able to hold our own, and when you look at our history, that we've been able to create something that was beneficial for the schools financially, benefits, for the schools, and the position-wise and what we were doing. They wasn't just coming into just another event. And the enthusiasm that we have been able to generate in this community is, I think we've all seen it at every level from everybody, whether it's political, business, community, the persons on the street. Everybody wanted this Southern Heritage Classic. They wanted our Southern Heritage Classic, and that's why it was so important.
Like I said, I think this evolution to how college football bowl and classic business has to be played now is different from what it was before.
Right.
But I also think there's a tremendous opportunity moving forward now that you've opened the door for some of the smaller schools in the SWAC to partner with you to move a home game, because this potentially, you got multiple schools now you can work with, and I can see how this can be beneficial to Memphis year after year. Whether it's, Valley doesn't play in a great big old stadium. As a matter of fact, they're renovating their stadium. Yeah. I can see a year or two from now they may want to be a partner with the Southern Heritage Classic for one of their home games, and so on and so forth. So I think you have a tremendous menu now, Mr. I'm not going to tell you to tip your cards, but you got a nice hand that you're playing with.
But you already tipped the cards because again, when somebody like you guys stop and think about it, you work with this all the time.
Yes.
Okay, so you got a different lens that you're looking at, you know, and what you want to do with anything is create opportunity.
Yeah.
And one of the things I learned from an older salesman years ago with WDIA, the late Paul Barnett, said, if you want to keep going with what you were selling, always try to get to a point where you can sell it to the people who need it the most. If you get them involved in what you're doing, now you really got something because they need it. Okay. And the Classic is a great brand. Memphis is a good city, regardless of what they say about all the other things going on. But, you know, this is a great city, and it's good to be a part of. And I think that every time somebody comes into our situation, we invite them into our house, we're going to make it a really nice thing, and I think people see it that way, you know, and that's where we got to keep plugging along. And the doors are open up there, and you're going to be surprised at how many other conversations I had, but it just we got kind of narrowed into a particular date, and I'm very pleased with what we have this year.
A lot of different conversations. Can you share some of those? Like I'm gonna tell you, sitting at the barbershop, getting the beard touched up, Mr. Jones. It was, oh, you know who's coming to the Classic. Like, no, who? How do you know? But it's one of those barbershop conversations ends up popping off. You know, I heard that Tennessee State, Alabama A&M is coming through. It's like, okay, I'll believe it when I see it. And then lo and behold, look up, they're partnering with their legacy series, Home and Home.
Right.
Who were some of were they one of the teams or two of the teams that you didn't get the chance to talk to? I got to ask because I got to go back and tell my barber.
There was Alabama A&M, Alabama State,
Okay,
Mississippi Valley, just to name a few.
So
you know, it's more, but you know, again, you just don't want to have the conversations going all over the place.
got you.
Right now, we focusing on 2025, Alcorn State, UAPB. That's what we're working on. And don't be surprised if you see what you might see in the future, because a lot of schools, to Mike's point, they didn't think they had an opportunity to be in something like the Southern Heritage Classic. I mean, and you realize once you get involved in the Classic, how big a deal it really has become locally, regionally, and nationally. So there'll be other opportunities, and we've chosen to stay as close to home as we possibly can for a lot of different reasons, expenses, that kind of thing. But as it gets involved, then there'll be other entities that'll be involved in this. We'll have to expand it to, you know, with the North Carolina A&Ts and the Hamptons and people like that. You know, we can have arrangements where that can happen.
Yeah.
But, so that, right now we just have, what do they call a smorgasbord with everybody on there. Don't be surprised, but right now we're gonna take what we got.
There you go. Hey, well, if that's the case, then you got to hang around another 35 years. Then, with this,
no.
all right? You got to make it work. You got to make it happen.
No, but I think that the fact that it's opening up now, it's opening up a lot of eyes for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yep.
And the one thing I think that's come out of all of this, and I alluded to it earlier, this is a community effort. Everybody plays their part. It's like they talk about on the team. Everybody got a role and they play their part. Well, for us to be successful, us meaning the Grizzlies, us meaning the FedEx Forum, and us meaning the city of Memphis and the Southern Heritage Classic, it takes a community to do that, to make it work. And I think everybody's kind of rallying to that point now that we need to all do it together.
Yep.
Absolutely, absolutely. Community involvement is going to be so important for this classic as it is for every event in the city of Memphis. Do we know when the tailgate tickets go on sale? Do we have that? Because that's what I'm looking at. I got some people to call me like, hey, go ahead and get your tailgate spot so I can come through.
Tell them stay tuned. They can always go to southernheritageclassic.com. As you know, we just finalized this thing last Friday. Mm-hmm. So as you can imagine, it feels like it's 24 hours that everything is going in. So I don't want to give a date on when the game going on sale. It's being worked on as we speak at this moment. Mm-hmm. Tailgating is, and I had to remind everybody so they get really excited every time they make a change. There's no changing in the tailgate. None of the spots are going to go away. Yeah. None of that changes. They got a hole in the ceiling. I mean, in the wall at the stadium. All of that.
But there ain't no hole at the tailgate.
None whatsoever. So it'll be a couple of months once we get the game in place and move that out, and we'll have the tailgate. You know, I don't even want to speculate on the time because when it's ready, it's ready. And we'll let everybody know. But everything is moving along at a fever pitch. We got a staff of people. Got everybody's working toward our goal every year is always to make this the best classic ever. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And all I say that if we have sunshine makes all the difference in the world.
Absolutely.
And people's attitude, everything is brightened up, you know. And so we have sunshine for 3 days, 4 days. Man, we won't be able to hold all of these people. And all the things that we're trying to do, you know, it'll take shape over the next couple of weeks.
Awesome. Fred Jones Jr., founder of the Southern Heritage Classic. Thank you so much, everybody. Keep up with all the news and information on the Classic. You can go to Classic Memphis on Twitter, at Classic Memphis on Twitter. And what was that website one more time?
SouthernHeritageClassic.com. September 27th, Simmons Bank Memorial Stadium, right, is where it's going to be. Yep. Stay tuned for all of the information on the tailgate tickets. They're going on sale soon. And then we'll follow up on that, too, with the game and everything from that standpoint. But the 2025 Southern Heritage Classic is on. We got 2 teams. We got one kingpin having it, making it all happen, and it's Fred Jones, and he did it again. He did it again, Memphis, and let's support it, and let's keep doing it big, real big for the Southern Heritage Classic.
Fred Jones Jr., thank you so much for taking time out and joining us.